None of us will forget what we were doing when we first heard about the attack on Israel on the 7th of October. The confusion and the uncertainty before we saw the chilling images of Hamas terrorists marauding through Israeli towns and villages on that dark October day. There are moments in our history that require moral clarity and leadership. And the Prime Minister, his government, and the Conservative Party have all been outstanding. In Tel Aviv, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was unequivocal in saying, "We want Israel to win." The UK's steadfast support for Israel has extended right across government, with a dozen departments working together tirelessly to defend our ally Israel in its greatest hour of need, while also combating the appalling rise of anti-Semitism here at home.
British Armed Forces have been dispatched to deal with Hezbollah and the Houthis. We've called out the BBC bias. We've ensured that the Jewish community have more resources to protect itself. We've faced up to social media companies and universities to shame them into doing something to tackle anti-Semitism.
Within 24 hours of the atrocity becoming known, CFI were able to coordinate and get 270 members of Parliament, peers, and including government ministers to sign a letter of solidarity and support which was sent to the President of the State of Israel.
CFI have led from the front. We've been always proactive, providing help, providing assistance to members of Parliament and to the members of the House of Lords. We provide that at any hour of the day and night. We've been proud to increase the understanding of Israel's position. We're proud to stand by Israel.
This has been a delegation unlike any other that I've been on with CFI over the years. Thanks to the very high regard in which CFI is held here in Israel, we've been given access to some very challenging sites.
This house is one of those where people were murdered. These red circles with red dots within them denote homes where Hamas terrorists entered and killed innocent people on that day. The scale and the barbarity of what happened is truly extraordinary, and you have to come here to see it for yourself and truly appreciate it.
This street here in Kfar Aza is a street where young adults were given their first homes, a lot of them students. It's a street which saw some of the worst atrocities and acts of violence committed over the weekend of 7th of October. Just to our left on the roof there, we were told that Hamas snipers stationed themselves to deliberately kill and murder any person leaving their home. There was a huge amount of looting that took place, some unspeakable acts of violence committed against women in particular.
Whilst in Israel, I also met with the family of the late Netta Epstein. Netta was the young boy who was with his fiancée Irene in the Kfar Aza when a grenade was thrown in, and he jumped on the grenade, saving her life. And when I went down to Kfar Aza myself, I was able to stand outside the home of Netta and say the Kaddish prayer.
It's really disturbing to hear what happened in Sderot, but I feel that this visit to Israel is giving me a greater understanding of the horrors of the 7th of October. And that's why I'm really grateful for CFI for making it possible, because we do need to make sure the debate back in the UK is properly informed. It is important for an understanding of the horror of what happened on the 7th of October and the need to deal with Hamas and defeat them militarily.
It's difficult to comprehend the scale of the suffering that took place at that site, but walking around the exhibition, seeing the discarded tents that were left behind, the clothing that was left behind, seeing some of the cars that they've brought to the exhibition that were shot up by the terrorists, and the portaloos where some of these children and young people were hiding from the terrorists with the bullet holes in them, just underlines again the barbaric nature of the acts that took place over that horrific weekend.
Nothing really prepares you for the grief and the sadness that you witness when you actually come here. Seeing the high chairs at the table behind us is just something that I don't think I'll ever forget. For many people, their lives are still stuck on the 7th of October of 2023, and it's been a real honour to travel here to Israel to tell people that we're with them and we haven't forgotten about them. And as MPs back at home, we're going to do everything we can to make sure no one forgets about the hostages and no one forgets that we have to remain on Israel's side.
If ever there was a moment for CFI to have been created, it's now. There has never been a more important time to stand up as a friend of Israel, to be part of a movement like Conservative Friends of Israel, to ensure that the case for Israel is made day after day at this most difficult of times for the state of Israel.
The level of support for Israel and the Conservative Party is high. That didn't happen overnight. Through decades of constant campaigning, of constant explaining, of bringing the reality of Israeli life to Parliament, these places in a strong position to ensure that when Israel needed, we were there.
This work can only happen with your generous support to enable CFI to carry on the essential work of helping parliamentarians stand up in support for the world's only Jewish state.